Hi all YouTubers, welcome back to my channel. Today is number 112 of Small Engines Questions and Answers. And before I get started today, I want to welcome all my new subscribers again. I also want to mention that it's impossible for me to answer every single question that I get because I'm very busy. It's not that your questions aren't important, it's just I don't have time to get at all the questions that are sent to me. But keep sending them anyways, and I try my best to get at all of them. Also, when you send me questions, if you reply a bit later on, like a few days later or a week later, please put in your email message what it is that we discussed earlier. And if you mention your previous discussion, then I know exactly what you're talking about. And remember, the best way to send a question is with a video. In my first question today, a YouTuber told me that when he puts down the throttle lever on his Tecumseh engine on his snowblower, it will not shut off. Usually when you put the lever down, it does shut off the engine. I'm just going to show you here on a snowblower engine what I mean. Here's a Tecumseh engine on a snowblower. This is the lever I'm talking about here. It's the throttle lever, but also serves as a shut-off switch. And normally when you put the lever all the way down like this, it does stop the engine. Now in this case, the YouTuber says that when he does this, the engine keeps running. Well, what could be causing that problem is the small terminal over here. As you see here, when you bring the lever down, the metal part of the lever touches the terminal part. The small metal pin right over here. So if this is damaged or the wire is disconnected from underneath it, it's not going to turn the engine off when you bring the lever down. Usually you're going to see one or two wires going to it. One goes to the ignition module inside the engine, and the other one goes to the key over here. It could also be that the terminal is damaged. If the small pin up top here is missing, then you definitely need to buy a new terminal. You can just pry the old one out, put a new one in, and then just meld the ends of it after it's inside this metal part over here. And that's it, then connect your wires to it. And here's a better view of one. This is a brand new one out of the package. This is what it looks like when you buy it brand new. And here's the part number, it's 610973. I'm going to put a link under the video in case you want to go buy one. Another question I got the other day is there an oil filter on 12 horsepower Briggs Stratton engines on lawn tractors? Well, the answer to that is no. Usually on the older 12 horsepowers, there's no oil filter. For example, on some old lawn tractors like this, you will often find an older Briggs Stratton engine, and usually they do not have an oil filter. Here's a 12 horsepower, and if you look around the engine, you will not see one. And it's the same on this side of it. And most new V-twins made by Briggs will have an oil filter located right under here on the left-hand side of the engine. Another quick question I got the other day is some of you guys saw the video that I showed where I'm putting away a grass trimmer. Some of you guys asked me, where do you buy this engine storage spray? Well, this one here I bought it at Canadian Tire in Canada, but if you go to any auto parts store, you can buy engine storage spray or engine fogger. It's fairly easy to find. Now, while I'm on the subject of talking about putting grass trimmers away for the winter, which I did with this one in one of the videos you saw previously, I'm just going to answer a question that I got a few times when this video came out. And that question is, are you not worried that the engine is running too lean when you're running it dry of gas? Well, my answer to that is no, because it's for a very short period of time. And you'll notice in the video that I have the choke on, so it's not winding at a very high RPM. Sometimes some engines running out of gas will have a higher than normal RPM, and that's when it's bad for them. So always be careful when doing this. You can watch my video again if you want. I'll put the link under this video as well. But notice how I put the choke on when there's just a bit of gas left in the carb. I start it and it's not over revving. It's just burning the gas out of the carb, and that's all I want. I've done this for many years, and I know a lot of other mechanics who've done it for even longer than I have, and they've never had a problem with it. In my next question, somebody asked me, what kind of grease do you recommend for an auger gearbox on a snowblower? The person asked me this question because his snowblower is older. It used to take gear oil in it. The seals are shot on his gearbox and he cannot get new ones. And he remembered that in a previous video I had told people that if this happens, just use grease. So my answer to this question is my preferred grease is a 00 grease. And here it is. This is made specifically for gearboxes. It can take a beating. It's good in the winter and the summer. Also, you can buy MTD grease. It's part number 7370308. It's basically the same grease as I showed you in the previous tube. This grease here is much cheaper. It's made by Rotary. You can ask your local small engine shop to order some for you. And here's the size of it. It's almost a liter or a quart, and it's part number 329089. Now if you can't find any of the grease I just showed you, you can always use white grease or lithium grease. It's going to be a lot more expensive though. And sometimes a lot of you guys ask me, what kind of grease do you use in your grease gun? Well, this is the grease that I use. And this grease here is blue in color. It's really good grease, I like it. So that's what I use. It might cost $1 or so more than regular general purpose grease though. And another common grease that I use in my shop is white grease. I like it in the tube like this because you can just squeeze out a little bit at a time. And I also use lithium grease for specific applications. This grease here though is very expensive. It's $5 just for this small tube. And this big tube over here is just over $5 for one this size. So there's quite a difference in price. This one here, I use it more economically. I'm more careful as to what I use it for. Like I said, it's mostly for specific applications. And it's really good grease for the winter time. It does not get hard. And it's also good in the summer because it does not melt away on you. Now another question I got a little while ago is somebody told me that their starter on their lawn tractor had a broken magnet inside of it, and they asked me how do I fix that. Well, sometimes you can fix it just by taking the magnet out, cleaning inside the starter, and re-gluing it with epoxy glue as long as the magnet isn't shattered in pieces. I've seen people take out the magnet that was broken and the starter ran with the magnet missing. But that's not always the case. Most oftentimes you end up having to just buy a new starter. Usually you can buy aftermarket starters for under $100, so if you can't fix it with the broken magnet, then just buy a new one. Before I end off the video today, I just want to show you a few carburetor parts that may give you a hard time on your snowblower engine. Now that's assuming you have a Tecumseh engine on your snowblower. Now what often happens on the Tecumseh carburetors is that the bowl will corrode where it meets the carburetor. Now there's an O-ring that goes between the bowl and the carburetor, as you can see here. And you can see all the dirt and corrosion, and this can cause an air leak, and then your engine will be hard to start or will not run properly. Now you can just clean this off with carburetor cleaner or with something really soft that will not scratch the edge here where it meets the carburetor. You can also try to clean the O-ring and reuse it, but I don't recommend doing that. Tecumseh recommends that each time you take the bowl off that you replace the O-ring. But if you don't have access to parts immediately and you need your snowblower like now, you may want to do this just to get you through. Now again, I'm showing these parts because they're very inexpensive and it can solve your problem. The part number for the bowl is 631867, and this is the bowl you're going to get. It's identical to this one. They're usually under $5 each, so it's well worth buying a new bowl. Sometimes as a mechanic, I just put on a new bowl because it's cheaper to do that, and I know that it's not going to corrode again quickly. Now if you have a non-adjustable carburetor, you can buy this kit, part number 631021B. It comes with the needle, seat, bowl, nut, gasket, the O-ring I showed you previously, and the little pin that holds the needle valve, which is right over here. And this kit here is usually $5. So for $10 you can buy all these parts and fix your snowblower. Now that's assuming that this is the problem with your snowblower. But if you take the bowl off and it's corroded like this, make sure to clean it or just replace it. And I recommend that if the O-ring is like this, to just go ahead and replace it instead of trying to clean it. It's the more professional way to repair your snowblower. So I'm going to put the link to these parts underneath my video. If you want to buy these parts, just click on the link. It'll take you right there. Now if your carburetor just has a bowl nut like this underneath, which is 1/2 inch in size, it's a non-adjustable carburetor. And if you see a screw attached to a bowl nut like this, then you have an adjustable carburetor. Now all the parts I showed you today will fit on both carburetors. So that'll be it for today's Q&A. Thanks for watching. Also, a lot of you guys have been asking me if we got snow here yet. Well, the answer is no. We just got like a centimeter or not even an inch about a couple weeks ago, and it's all gone now. So we did not get affected by the big storm that you guys had in the USA. But our turn will come for sure because we do get snow here every year. Have a great weekend, guys, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.